Society.
Hi, I'm Aditi and I'm an editorial team member for Incite.
And today we're here with Sam, who's running to be the union chair.
Hi Sam.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
How are
here.
you? How's your campaigning going?
Not too bad, it's got off to a really strong start actually. So
Yeah.
I'm quite proud, it's going really well. Got lots of friends backing me up, so it's great.
That's good.
Great.
Great. So for our first question, we just want to ask you, perhaps the most important role of the union chair has is setting the agenda for exec meetings and leading the conversation union officers have. So what will be important to your agenda for next year?
Well, I think generally most things get onto the agenda. So when students bring motions forward, generally they're brought onto the agenda. I don't think I've spoken to Zainab, none have been turned down this year. I certainly don't see myself turning down anything next year. Obviously the vice presidents and presidents often bring stuff forward as well as motions. So I don't have anything specifically on my agenda to bring to exec. The union chair is meant to be impartial and facilitate impartial debate at exec. And so I don't have anything on my agenda to bring to exec. I have other things on my agenda to do. So yeah, that's what I see coming to exec next year. Most things that the students want and most things that the vice presidents and president want.
Okay.
So another perhaps big role is as union chair that you have to do is hold the sabbatical officers to account. And how do you think you'll manage the other sabbatical officers?
Well, so the sabbatical officers, so the vice presidents report to the president, and then I technically will liaise with the president to hold all of them accountable. However, I think holding some dialogue between all of the officers is a good thing, making sure they're working on their manifesto points, seeing how it's going, seeing if there's any way I can help them. I've also got down under accountability on my manifesto review panels. I think those are an absolute pillar of accountability. What we're going to see with that is we're going to bring the zone and the vice presidents onto a panel twice a year, once a semester, and open up to questions from an audience. It'll be an open meeting, and what that will mean is that students can come along and ask about stuff that really matters to them. They can ask, what are you doing on accommodation? Why has the price of beer gone up? Whatever it might be, students can come forward and ask that. Now I'll chair those panels along with maybe a course rep and a president from a society or a signatory from a society. We'll open up with some set questions and then we'll pass it out to the audience.
So it does involve a lot of work, being
Absolutely.
union chair, although it is a part-time role. Do you think that any of the other activities or any other commitments that you have will get in the way of you fulfilling that role? Or?
Absolutely not, because I'm ending those activities this year. So I'm currently president of STEMSoc, I'm currently a course rep, I've done that for 4 years, and I'm now going to stop those to become the union chair. I've shown that I can balance my time well. In second year I was a captain of judo, I was the president of MECSoc, I was a course rep, so I've shown I've got the time, but I appreciate that I can't carry those things on if I want to be union chair. This will take up all of my free time next year, and I know that it matters and must do so.
Very committed.
So this is a sort of case question. So the job of the union chair is to settle any disputes over the union bylaws, and I'm sure you've gone briefly over them. So in this case, if there's a bylaw being vague and inaccurate, it can lead to some conflict or confusion. And so if I give you an example, just tell me how you would react to it. So a few years ago, the bylaws said that they wouldn't allow a referendum on the NUS to be held during term time. But despite this, the union chair and exec decided to ignore it and held a referendum on the NUS during term time anyways, which they felt was much more convenient. So will you interpret the bylaws rigidly and stick to the rules as much as possible, or will you apply it to it by case basis and factor in the circumstances using that case?
You've got to factor in the circumstances of these things. On that one, I think I may have said that no, actually, we should have had the NUS vote some other time.
Yeah.
However, when there's a bit of ambiguity, yes, I will interpret it as I see fit, and that's what students are electing. Students are saying that yes, we trust this person, they trust me to look at that rule and say, how should this be interpreted if it's too vague? So yeah, there will be a bit of leeway, but if something is written hard in stone and it's very clear, then absolutely that needs to stand.
So you disagree with what they did?
Yeah, I think maybe it wasn't the wisest choice. I think if we have rules, we need to stick to them. We set them for a reason. But if they are ambiguous, then we do need to interpret them in the right way.
Fair enough.
Okay, so just to give you another scenario, a few years ago, a group of students needed funding to go on a protest march in London. The union chair and exec decided not to give them the money. The next exec meeting, those students turned up en masse in protest to the decision. Exec then performed a U-turn and gave them the funding they originally asked for. In that situation, would you assert yourself and do what you believe is right, or would you listen to the students and give them what they want?
Ultimately, as the chair, that's not actually my choice to make. That's for exec to vote on, and the exec are elected to represent the students. However, yes, the union chair does hold those people accountable to the students. I think in that case, it's quite an extreme case when they turned up to protest that. But ultimately, the exec would still need to be asking themselves there, is this just a small number of students who we're looking at here, or is this a widely sort of spread feeling that they want to go to this protest? But no, that's not actually for the union chair to decide, that's for exec to decide. The union chair is impartial until there's a split vote, at which point, yes, they have a say.
So just the last sort of case situation for you. A student last year wanted to create a new VP position, and they were mistakenly told that they could hold a referendum for it. So they were told that they could, if they get the required number of signatures, they could hold it, but this was the wrong information, and so the exec had to discuss this, and the union chair had to make a difficult decision whether to hold the referendum and the outcome to be meaningless if the new VP position was approved, or tell the student that they couldn't hold the referendum despite them getting hope that they could in the first place. So in this situation, what would your judgment be?
It was the same as what was judged at the time. So this was Zainab that made this decision, and she said no to the referendum, and it was the right decision. At the end of the day, the rules are very clear there. There was no ambiguity, and there's no point in fake politics. There's no point in us going out and saying let's have a referendum on this when we can't actually act on the answer of the referendum because we're not allowed to, because the bylaws don't allow us to. So no, the right decision was made that I would have made the same decision that says no, actually we can't have a referendum on that. That needs to go back to the annual members meeting, which was where it was previously discussed. So what happened there was the annual members meeting before that exec meeting had said no, we don't want a vice president, new vice president, and then there was a suggested referendum. But the annual members meeting is sort of the highest power within the union. And so that was the deciding factor, and exec couldn't change that, and so they didn't, and Zainab was right to uphold that bylaw.
But do you not think that perhaps, well, first of all, he should have never got the wrong information anyway, so
Absolutely.
whoever was responsible should be held accountable, but do you not think if he got enough signatures for it, there was recognition that perhaps it is something that is wanted by not just one student, by a number of students, and even if the referendum perhaps didn't create the VP position automatically, it would, bring it up in discussion. It would show that the students are interested in this VP position. So do you not think that perhaps something could have been done more than to just dismiss it?
Ultimately, because that had been discussed in the annual members meeting, which has a lot of people attending, and that they are the deciding factor, I think that had already been represented. We'd already seen what the population at large already thought of that. So it's very well saying we've got this slightly smaller faction of students who think this. That's absolutely fine. We have minorities of opinion, and that's absolutely fine, and we need to represent those people. But the larger body had been represented at the AMM, and they had spoken, and that was the decision that should have been made.
So you're running for NUS delegate.
Yes.
What is your opinion of the NUS, and do you think that it's an effective organisation?
I think it's become less effective in the last few years. Certainly this year, I think it's lost its way quite a bit. I think it's the issues that it's focusing on. There's a few of them are right, but we've got stuff like focusing on the NHS, campaigns for the NHS to improve, that are not at the heart of what students are asking for at the moment. Students are asking for cheaper accommodation, action against rogue landlords. Here they're asking for less student numbers. They're asking for student fees not to go up, or not to go up too much. They're asking for bigger maintenance loans is the really big one at the moment, because we can't afford the cost of living. We're having to go to work, and those are the sort of things that the NUS needs to be focusing on, and they're not at the moment. So no, I'm not convinced they're effective at the moment. There does need to be some change, and I think that's probably on the way, because people have voiced the opinion. You've seen what's in the news about the NUS. That's not everybody's opinion, but it's a large opinion.
Yeah.
So sort of connected to with the NUS, as you may know, that the NUS is boycotting the National Student Survey, and our Students' Union currently is also is not boycotting them, so it opposes the boycott. What's your opinion? Like, would you oppose the boycott or would you support the boycott of the NSS?
I oppose the boycott of the NSS because I think in that area the NUS has been a little bit militant in how it's approached it. It's refusing on a lot of fronts to negotiate with the government. I think we have to face reality here. I don't like the fact that we're going to get the TEF and that prices are going to be based on that, but it is inevitable. I really don't like it, but it's still inevitable and it's reality. And I think we need to negotiate to make that deal better, to make that situation better, because it is coming. We are going to have to deal with it when it gets here. So let's have a say in how it happens now. Let's have students with their voice out there as opposed to protesting it completely and boycotting the NSS to try and stop it. Because unless we're unified in that boycott of the NSS, which clearly across the country we're not. Some people have decided to boycott it, some people have decided against it, then it's going to be ineffective.
But do you, I mean, do you take how much issue? Obviously, the biggest issue with the NSS is the fact that the government is sort of using it to be like, oh, university is doing really well. We could possibly increase tuition fees. So, do you think? I know it's a big ask, but what do you think could be done about that? Because that is perhaps the main reason that a lot of student unions are boycotting it all over the country.
Yeah. Firstly, they are boycotting the NSS, but their problem is with the TEF, which will come in soon, which is a slightly different setup. As far as what we can do about it, we can get student representatives into the new office for students in London. I forget its exact title, but it's the one led by Jo Johnson. I know actually the NUS has been very good at getting a student put onto that committee because initially it wasn't. So we can get to the table, but we need to start with the NUS actually coming to the table with the government as opposed to on some occasions refusing to talk to them.
Yeah.
So we need to start negotiations now, and we need to all get behind those negotiations rather than being split between demos and negotiations.
So we have one final question, and that is that some of your manifesto pledges are very similar to that of your opponent. What do you think gives you an edge over her?
I think Sarah is very focused on getting people to exec. I'm realistic. I know that we're not going to get many people to exec. Many people have tried in the past. Every union chair has tried to get more people to exec. I'm realistic. I know what's going on here. We're going out to work because prices have roared up in housing. We're having to work. We've got less time. We've got sports to do. Some of us are star athletes. Some of us are really involved in our hobbies. We have not got the time every 2 weeks for an hour and a half to go to exec. So what we need is 60-second updates. That's not on Sarah's manifesto. That's just on mine. So that's where we share some difference. I think the union needs to go to the students because the students cannot go to the union.
Okay. And one last question. Final. What do you think are your biggest weaknesses and strengths?
I think my biggest strength is throwing myself into everything. You can see how my campaign's gone. It's all across campus. I'm really strong on that.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest weakness is getting a little bit caught up in having everything just right. It's a sort of cliche. It's a cliche answer, isn't it? Oh, I'm such a perfectionist. But I do like to get really involved in things, and sometimes that takes up a lot of my time.
Yeah.
I have to be realistic about how much time.
Your extracurricular activities.
Yeah, I have to be realistic about how much time I'm going to have next year, and I've tried to balance that. So maybe I stretch myself sometimes, get a bit stressed about it, but I always get it done.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you gave really good answers. So if you'd like to see the other interview with the candidate for union chair and the other candidates for president, then please click the links and to the videos in the description box.
Please subscribe to Stag TV and follow our page on Facebook, the PolSoc Society page and the Incite page. Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Sam.